Hey guys, we are live at Farragut Square in DC at the People's March, getting ready to go to Lincoln Memorial, where it's expected that tens of thousands of protesters will be engaging in a rally to protest the Trump administration. So stay tuned with us. Why did you feel like it was important to show up today?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are feeling concerned. We've got an administration and really an entire federal government that's going to be controlled by a party that has been extremely transphobic, that is anti-climate, that is anti-LGBTQIA, that it talks about drastic increase of funding the police, that is talking about genocide of Palestinians. It's a lot of issues that to me, are unacceptable. And while I don't believe that the Democrats have necessarily addressed those problems the way that they should, I think we see this new administration is going to be even worse. And that's scary.
So when it comes to sending a message, we had the Women's March in 2016, largest march of its time at that time, and we still went through 4 years of his administration. He's doubling down on his fascist ideology. What do you hope this message sends to his administration?
I think you hear them talk about how they're like this silent majority, and I think it's important to remind them that they may have won this election, but they barely won the popular vote, and a lot of people stayed home. And just because people stayed home and they won this election doesn't mean that everyone agrees with what they want to do. There are people who will stand up for what they believe in and push back against the stuff that they push.
The last question. You mentioned the Democrats. There has been some criticism even of this protest today by some Democrats who feel that their party leaders haven't really done enough to stand up to Trump and to even push when they had the power. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that's exactly right. I think a part of the reason we end up with a fascist like Trump in office is because Democrats talk about issues that people care about and then don't address the root causes. So they talk about how people can't afford things, how they can't afford food, and then they don't fix those issues. They turn around and say, actually, our priority is to ban TikTok. Our priority is to give money to Israel, while people here, their issues are unaddressed completely. And that leaves the door open for someone like Trump to say, I'm going to lower the cost of your groceries, when we know he's not going to do that.
What were your thoughts, as an HBCU student, when, Kamala Harris was expected to win, and then she had to come out and give that conciliatory speech.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of torn with just Kamala Harris in general. Still siding with very liberalistic viewpoints and not kind of doing things that people, especially people of color, people who are backing her, support, like supporting Palestine, like supporting more initiatives to increase affordability when people can't afford to just survive nowadays. I was kind of torn, but at the same time, it was a letdown. It was a letdown because now we have Trump, which is, I guess, I'm scared.
A lot of the criticism has come against Democrats too for not doing enough, and you talked about how these liberal policies that don't really solve the issues. Mm-hmm. What would your message be to Democrats over the next 4 years? What do you want them to do?
I would say to Democrats, maybe listen to your constituents more. I think a lot of people are recognizing slowly, a little bit over time, that the Democratic Party is not working as it once was, or maybe as they thought it once was. It's not representing the people in which they support them. And then you have people like me who was registered as a Democrat, kind of not being able to identify themselves as one now, and looking outside of the Democratic Party for answers because they're not giving them.
Last question.
Yes.
You just found out that Snoop Dogg and Nelly will be performing for Trump at the inauguration. What are your thoughts?
I have no words. Snoop was just at the Paris Olympics. I thought he was doing a cute little tour. I didn't think it was going to be to Trump's rally or inauguration. I'm let down because they both are really big leaders or representations of our community, and just any type of representation further of us supporting Trump, especially when you already have the black male vote increasing for Trump, it's really a big letdown. It's a huge letdown.
Why was it important for your organization to come out here and to make your voices heard here today?
It was important for the YCL to come out here today because right now in this country, what we're dealing with is a fascist movement. exemplified by MAGA, exemplified by Donald Trump, and exemplified by their Project 2025 agenda. And so we're out here today as progressive young people who care about democracy, who care about peace, and who want to build a mass movement for socialism in this country. And we're here with the message that we care about our freedom because that's about our future. And we're here to tell Donald Trump, we're here to tell the MAGA movement, we're here to tell his billionaire friends that we are not going back.
You know, a lot of the talking points from the far right side is that communism is a threat to our country, socialism is a threat to our country, and yet it's the fascist actions that have caused such division. So what's your thoughts about that?
My thought about that is that they call everything progressive and fair in this country, from labor rights to civil rights, communism, socialism, for a reason. They're scared of progress, and they know that when we come together and we present ourselves as a mass and united movement, their fascist agenda cannot be advanced. So we're out here today to let people know that the strongest weapon that we have as working class people in the fight against fascism is our unity.
You know, Democrats have been at odds with the progressive wing of their party for a while too, and there's a lot of criticism that the Democrats haven't gone far enough when they had power to stand up to these fascist actions. What are your thoughts about what you think the Democrats should be doing over the next 4 years, or independents, other parties, opposition in general?
I think you kind of put it very clearly. Right now, the Democratic Party, the liberals, they're kind of spineless. They're not willing to actually lead the fight against fascism. And so we, as the working class, as working class people, we have to come together and we have to take up the fight against fascism. We can't just sit out on the sidelines while our people's rights are under attack, while our people's standards of living are under attack. So as progressives, as communists, we have to get in the forefront of the fight for democracy and really position ourselves as people who say, we are going to take the fight to fascism, to Donald Trump, to his billionaire friends, and to the MAGA movement.
So we are still here at Farragut Square, where, as you can see, another march is converging onto this one. There's going to be a total of 3 marches joined together, where we'll all be heading to Lincoln Memorial for today's rally here at the People's March in D.C. So we are at the People's March in D.C., where 2 different protests have just converged. Tens of thousands of people are estimated to be out here right now. We're about to march to Lincoln Memorial for a rally from 1 to 3, where people are making their voices heard, sending a message to the Trump administration that they, want people to know that not everyone supported his presidency, and that they are going to stand up to him over the next 4 years.
Peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! Don't let it do that. I remember how much it was. It's under yours. It's under yours.
We are now converging on the National Mall. As you can see behind me, the protest is crossing Constitution Avenue. We're at the spot where Trump was set to have his inauguration on Monday, but it's since been moved inside due to the weather. But as you can see, people from all ages, all backgrounds have braved the cold today to send a message to his administration that they won't back down. Why was it important for you to come here today, and what message do you plan to give to the people today?
Bottom line, this is our government, right? It doesn't matter that we didn't support Donald Trump. It doesn't matter that one election passed or another. The bottom line is that the Constitution, democracy, this nation, it all belongs to the people. And so it is not only our right, but our duty to call the question. Donald Trump is very clearly trying to death by 1,000 paper cuts, our protections, the Constitution, democracy. You go on. And so, again, I find it's our duty. I'm glad to see that many agree with me.
What are the main issues that you focus on at Popular Democracy, and what are you wanting the people to really stand up against under this new administration?
Yeah, well, Popular Democracy is a network of 50 organizations across the country who knock on doors 365 days a year. And the message that we have is that there are 93 weeks until midterm elections. The Congress is held on by the skin of its teeth. And we have the power to not only upend the worst of Donald Trump, but we have the power to course correct. So we are urging people already, we're already on doors, knocking on doors, telling folks, we have to vote. 90 million stayed home. 90 million cannot stay home next time. There's also state races that are going to show the tone and tenor of what our nation is willing to accept. And finally, and this may get a little wonky for some listeners, but you know, we are in fact fighting for what is at the core and what is acceptable from our government. We are pulling the Overton window back towards justice, back towards a government that centers people over capital. Right now, we know that folks like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they've captured our government. I mean, there's no other way to describe it when one tweet can undo elected officials' plans, and we, the people, have to stop it.
A lot of criticism has come against the Democrats for what some people feel was not fighting hard enough to stand up against fascism. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that we, the people, we should not be focused on the left or the right. For me, I'm from the bottom. And what I'm trying to do is lift people who are at the margins to bring them to the center of policymaking. When I hear both Democrats and Republicans talking about deporting millions of people and not caring about human decency, their children who are documented citizens, or even just the Constitution, then that's not a left or right issue. When I hear Donald Trump say that he's going to dismantle the Department of Education, that's not left, that's not right, that's not Democrat, that's Republican, that's us. And so it is so, one of the things that we as a community experience is that they try to put us in a box, but we reject it. I mean, bottom line, I am here for maybe the same reason so many are. My children, I believe in this country, I believe in freedom, and I believe that I have a right to determine what happens to me and my body, just like a man does. And I'm willing to fight for it, so.
Last question. What do you have to say to people who have already kind of felt like they've given up, they're hopeless? I mean, we've just heard that on Tuesday, Trump is planning to send hundreds of agents into Chicago to round people up. How do you have hope at a time like this?
I know that organizing has got us out of this kind of situation. This isn't new. Every single time Black people gained political power in this country, we have experienced a clapback. Think about the moment of emancipation and Reconstruction. And then after 12 years, what happens? A deal gets cut between the party of Lincoln and the party of Dixie. And they strike a deal that ends up bringing us 100 years of Jim Crow. Think about what happens after the Civil Rights Movement, where we rise up and we demand rights. And what happens? The war on drugs, the war on our communities, the racism that resurges under Reagan, under Bush, and frankly, even under Bill Clinton. So every single time we reach for power, right? Status quo tries to pull it back. It does not escape me that this country was built and founded on the idea of freedom, and then they hardwired it to only exist for land-owning white men, and we've been pulling it ever since. And that is not going to stop, and I'm here for it.
So can you first of all tell me why you're here and the message you plan to give today?
You know, last week was a tough week for Sierra Club. We woke up on Monday to being sued by Exxon, and we ended last Friday being bullied online by Elon Musk. This is a time for us to remind our colleagues in the movement that we can't afford to be bullied, whether it's by one of the most powerful companies on the planet or the biggest troll on Twitter. This is a time for us to find ways to keep moving forward, keep making progress in our communities, in our states, and even with this Congress. Last time Trump was in office, we beat him hundreds of times in court. We forced his most corrupt nominees to resign. And we even found bipartisan allies to get big pieces of legislation passed. It's time to remind us, in other words, that our agenda is more popular than either party or the president of the United States. and we'll move this country forward with or without him.
What do you want the people to understand?
Well, the people to understand is that most of us now are living in communities that have been deindustrialized, where folks have been economically stuck. And yet, in the last 4 years, we've seen America do something that you and I haven't seen in our adult lifetimes, which is to open up big new factories to pursue big new industrial opportunities. Virtually all of that is centered around the so-called green economy, which is really just the future economy of this country. Those are factories to build EVs, to build batteries, to re-onshore microchips, to build wind turbines and solar panels and all the component parts. And the reality is that that's the biggest economic opportunity on planet Earth right now, the need to change the way the whole Earth is powered and everything is transported around it. The country that seizes that will lead the world economy in this century. If we want that to be America again, like it was last century, then we have to find a way to keep building factories, keep creating jobs for our neighbors, no matter what the sort of partisan rhetoric of the president of the United States is. And what makes me hopeful is that most of those jobs are being created in red states like Oklahoma and Texas. In other words, he's going to hit resistance in his own party. And we saw that, literally several 100,000 new jobs in green factories have been created, and those create multipliers in the economy just in the last 4 years. And despite all that, Vice President Vance referred to it as table scraps. And people came roaring back from inside his own party, because a lot of those factory workers are Republicans too. And they know that those jobs are better than the last job and solving real problems for their families. And they're not going to let anybody, even the vice president who represents their own party, destroy the economy that's solving their families' struggles. So that's bottom line why we're here. We as Sierra Club, we show up in lots of different corners. We seek to maintain an uncomfortably large coalition that includes Democrats, includes Republicans, includes a lot of independents, but all of them committed to making sure our country does everything it can to preserve more parkland and to build the technologies that will reduce carbon emissions so we can stabilize this climate. And what that all adds up to is a bunch of new jobs. And that's part of why we fight so hard.
A lot of people are here feeling hopeless, but you just expressed the possibilities of what can still be done.
Yeah.
Why do you think people are feeling hopeless, and what do you hope can come out of the efforts you're doing with the Sierra Club?
America lags behind most modern nations in never having had a woman president. And the fact that we were so close again and yet failed to deliver that change for our country, people are right, to feel disappointed. My grandma was so proud of her mother, who was a suffragette, and her, grandma, who was a suffragette, and she knew both of them, and they helped raise her. And so for my sister, for my mother, for my dad, for me, for anybody who's been part of that multi-generational struggle to kind of help women break through the political glass ceiling, to feel a bit of disappointment is rational. And yet, we have a responsibility that no matter, how many steps we get pushed back, we still got to find a way to leap forward. And the working people of this country, those of us who have the privilege to lead in some way, only have one job, which is to deliver real change in real time for real people with real struggles. And so I can't look at them and say, there's nothing we can do, because I know there's so much we can do. And so in moments like that, you got 3 minutes to talk or whatever, you focus on what we can do together. And that's what I keep talking to folks about, because you need them to, oh, right, oh, yeah, oh, we've been through this, oh, we didn't just survive, we did better.
So back in 2017, we made history. And today we are here to make our future. That's right! Today we have a choice to accept a future that is forced on us, or to fight for the future that we want.
And a future that is what? Compassionate, joy-filled, just, democratic, a future that is free.
we know it has been a lot these past 8 years, right? Now think about it. We've had Donald Trump. We've had wildfires, floods, wars, inflation, recession, pandemic, the gutting of Roe, Donald Trump, shootings, deportations, police brutality, Charlottesville, Donald Trump. And all of those things have been covered with the fingerprints of the billionaires who want to own our government. I'm not gonna hold you. In a democracy, there is no greater threat. But here's the thing. Today isn't about any of them. Today is about us.
And folks keep asking, what is this march? What are we marching for? Who is this march for? And that's it. At the People's March, we are calling out the people who use power to strip our freedoms. We are calling in, we the people, and we are calling on all of us to fight. Are you all ready to fight? It might be kind of cold. I didn't really hear you. Like, are you all ready to fight? But first, let's square up with reality, because honest to God, it's the first and the bravest thing that we can do in this moment. Before we do anything about our democracy, we have to fight our own despair, don't we? How many people have felt doubt? How many people have felt despondency? But how many people feel different now that we're all together here today? Because, my friends, I have seen personally in March after March what can be done when we harness our defiance. Are we defiant today?
We have marched more than 20 times and mobilized tens of millions of people since 2017. And you know what? At every one of those marches, most of the marchers were brand new to the movement. And afterwards, they went home to organize in their communities. So we're gonna talk about some of them for a second. We wanna talk about a group in Enid, Oklahoma. At Women's March, we call them our Oklahoma girlies.
Enid is a conservative town you might not know. It's a little bit north, I believe north of Oklahoma City, which is just a few hours from where I live in Amarillo. And the voters there elected a white nationalist to the city council. And this was one of the J. Crew white supremacists who carried a tiki torch in Charlottesville. I mean, the cringe kind. Exactly. Wait, did you say about Charlottesville? I'm not sure. What'd you say about white supremacists? And just like y'all, the Oakland girlies were not having it. So they helped get the signatures they needed to recall him. They told their neighbors the truth about him. And their work led to his ouster from the city council in the red city in a red state. And if we can win there, we can win anywhere. Can I hear you shout them out?
Y'all, that is how we take down fascists.
Period.
We tell the truth. We rally the people. We don't ever give up, even when it seems impossible. We look out for one another. We lean on each other, and we keep giving them that work.